everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a rather impromptu video. I was looking at my bullet journal today and I was like, I don't have a video planned for this week. What the hell am I gonna do? I went and I scrolled through my YouTube subscriptions page just to see like what was there, and there was nothing like trendy coming out. Like, you guys know there's always trends and stuff like that. And I was like, what could I just do to sit down and talk about that isn't another favorites book or a book recommendation, something that's a little bit different, because I did do my favorite books of all time last week. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just do a sort of TBR, because it has been so long since I've done a TBR on my channel. It has been eons, I guess, since I've done my previous TBR. And that's because I'm more of a mood reader than anything. But for the past 3-4 months, I've been setting a TBR, but not really talking about it. It's been for specific videos, or just because I'm like, these are the books that I want to read and I haven't really talked about it, or I've mentioned them in my wrap up for the previous month, kind of a thing. So I was like, you know what? Let's talk through the books that I want to read this spring into summer. And a few of you might be going, well, Jen, spring has been around for a while. And I come back and tell you, well, it snowed this week where I am, so it's not spring yet. It's not officially spring until there's no snow on the ground anymore where I am. So we're getting there. It is melting. There's a good pile of snow at the end of my street still, but it's melting. So going into spring, summer, these are the books that I want to read. So I have a good selection. We're just gonna start randomly. We'll start right here with my YA pile because it's only 2 books. So the first one that I really want to get to this spring really soon, actually. I would love to read it now, but my TBR is in the way. My current TBR is in the way, and that is for a video, so I cannot push it. This one I would love to read, and that is The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. Yes, I have mentioned this on my channel a few times. I keep saying I want to read it, and I will. I am planning on reading it like first in May, so I can just read it and love it and finally get to this book and see what it's all about, because I just have been so intrigued by it since it was announced as a, like, I think it was comped to Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, which is one of my favorite books. So I was like, I have to read this. I have to. Plus this cover is stunning. And since it's come out, I haven't heard a lot of buzz for it, but what I have heard has all been good buzz. So excited about this. I've also heard that it's got like a sapphic romance in it, so I'm into it. I'm into it. This one, from what I know, is very little. All I know is that it's about a 16-year-old named Decca who lives in fear and anticipation of the blood ceremony that will determine whether she becomes a member of her village. So in this world, if you bleed red, that means you are innocent and pure. If you bleed gold, you are not, and you will be, I believe, put to death. Decca knows she will face a consequence worse than death, but then she is given the option to go and become a warrior of some kind. Something like that. Warrior, it basically, because she is apparently a near immortal with gifts because she bleeds gold. That's all I know. That's all I want to know. I'm gonna go into that and enjoy it immensely. I can just tell. The next one is a book that I believe has been around for a really, really long time. And I picked it up specifically because of Hannah Long, the author of Hall of Smoke, because I follow her on like every social media now and we chat sometimes. Every time she does like a book recommendations TikTok or post on her Instagram, she always includes this one because this is her favorite series ever, favorite YA series at least, and that is Sabriel by Garth Nix. And I have never read this, and I was like, you know what? We're having a weird reading year. We're gonna try and read this book that Hannah Long absolutely loves. So I'm adding it to my list and I'm very excited to read it. It's fantasy, and so it follows a young girl named Sabriel who is sent to a boarding school as a young child, but during her final semester her father goes missing and Sabriel knows she must enter the Old Kingdom to find him, so she goes on like a journey to find him. She finds a companion in a cat. I'm here for it. Honestly, this seems like some good classic fantasy that I'm going to love. I'm looking at this cover closely now and it is so beautiful. There's like runes or something in it, and I don't know if you guys will be able to see that. Like, oh, how gorgeous. Even on the back there's shiny. I love it. Anyways, that's another one that I'm excited to read. The next YA book that I want to read is not a fantasy for once. It is a thriller, and it is The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. You guys have heard me talk about this on my channel before. It is about a girl named Donis who gets roped into an FBI investigation on her Ojibwe reservation, and it apparently, I've heard that it just oozes culture and like that kind of stuff, so I'm very excited to read this book and also dive into the YA thriller genre because that is a genre that I've never really touched. I'm excited. Also, this book is just beautiful. Okay, let's go to the adult romance. Why not? Or adult books, I guess. So these don't really, they're all like adult as like age range, and I guess they kind of connect. But anyway, so we have first The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. This is a, I believe, dual timeline story about a 18th century London apothecary where women basically go out against oppressive men in their lives, which is everything. And then 200 years later, a historian, Caroline Parswell, is running from her own demons when she discovers a clue to London's long unsolved apothecary murders. So yes, I'm here for it, and it has received really good feedback and really good reviews since it's been released. I also would like to read Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. This is, I believe, a hard-hitting romance, if I'm correct. It is about a girl named Grace who one day gets married to a girl very drunkenly in Las Vegas and then moves to New York to start her life with this wife that she doesn't even know. And she's like also running from her own life in a way, and I don't know. I've heard really good things about this book, so I am excited to get to it. The next book that I want to read this spring summer is a book by an author that I really loved her first work of. And this was actually one of my most anticipated releases of 2020, but I never got to it for some reason, I don't know. But that is The Switch by Beth O'Leary, because Beth O'Leary wrote The Flatshare, which I really loved, and I cannot wait to read this one. So this one is about Eileen and her granddaughter Lena, and they basically live, like, Lena lives in London and Eileen lives in like the countryside in Yorkshire in a little village, and one day they decide to just switch lives, switch houses, and like see if that spices up their life a little bit. And I am excited to read this because I love the way that Beth O'Leary writes her stories and tells stories, so I am very excited to go into that one. The next two are a little bit more romancy. So the first one, of course, is Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. This book I am hoping to finish before April is done. I'm hoping to squeeze it into my TBR because I am so excited about this book, and I cannot wait because Talia Hibbert's writing is incredible, and her stories are so funny and so sexy, and I just love her character so much. This sounds exactly up my alley. So this is the third Brown sister book. We have Get a Life, Chloe Brown, Take a Hint, Dani Brown, and of course this one, Eve Brown. And this is the third sister, the youngest sister, and she is a hot mess. She cannot get her life together, and she doesn't really know what she's doing. She's a little bit aimless, and her parents are like, all right, you need to get your shit together or we're cutting you off. So she decides one day to just go for a drive to, like, I don't know, heal her soul. And she finds a B&B that is hiring. So she goes in for a job interview, but the interview is disastrous. After that, she accidentally hits the guy with her car. It breaks his arm. So she is like, okay, I am going to fix this. You're letting me fix this. So it is a like enemies to lovers situation. We have Jacob here who is autistic, and I am so ready for this because it sounds exactly what I want, because I loved Chloe Brown. It is my favorite romance book ever. Chloe Brown is amazing. It is also an enemies to lovers romance, and I just love the way that she writes enemies to lovers. Dani Brown I loved as well, but not as much as Chloe Brown because I don't think the trope of like friends to lovers really gets me. I don't know what it is, but I am so excited to get to this one. I have such high hopes, and even if I don't love it as much as Chloe Brown, I know I'm gonna love it because it's Talia Hibbert and she writes incredible stories, so cannot wait. The next one is a little bit of a different kind of book. I have been having a weird reading year, as you guys know, and so I'm hoping that maybe a little bit of a switch up in my genres is gonna help me find my love of reading again, and that I'm hoping that finding a fantasy romance might do that for me. And that is the book that I'm picking, at least, is A Promise of Fire by Amanda Boucher. I was gifted this by my friend Ashley for Christmas, and I'm very excited to dive in because I've heard only good things about this. And like, apparently it does the fantasy and the romance balance really well, because I have an issue of going into fantasy books and then finding it just romance and like the world building isn't great or whatever. I don't love it. Like Sarah J Maas, don't love that, as you guys know. So I'm hoping that because I'm going into this book knowing that it is romance heavy, that I won't have like high expectations for the world itself. But I've also heard that the world itself is pretty good. So we'll find out, and I'm excited to read it. So it's about Catalia Fiza, who is disguised as a soothsayer in a traveling circus, and so she avoids the danger and destiny of the gods and her homicidal mother that she's been saddled with, until one day a man named Griffin, an ambitious warlord from the magic-deprived south, fixes her with his steely gaze and upsets her illusion of safety forever. So I'm excited to get to this. I know it's also like a series, the Kingmaker Chronicles. I think there's 3? Yeah. It's a trilogy. There's Breath of Fire and then Heart on Fire as well. So excited to read this. All right, so the next one we'll talk about is the one classic that I am hoping to get through because it is quite a beefy classic. I am already into it. It is just about 500 pages, just under, and that is Villette by Charlotte Bronte. I am currently 80 pages in, and I am hoping to continue my exploration with this one. This is part of my, or I guess really the beginning of my journey that I want to go on in 2021, where I read all of the Bronte Sisters backlist. So the only book that I have like finished and read is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, which is one of my favorite classics of all time. And I tried to read Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte and hated it. So we're going to retry Wuthering Heights and like get all the way through it so I can do my discussion on the Bronte Sisters properly. But I'm excited to explore all of the backlist of the Bronte Sisters. I officially own all of their books now, and I'm excited about it. So we have Anne and Emily and Charlotte. So Charlotte herself has written Villette, The Professor, Jane Eyre, and Shirley. And then we have Emily, who wrote Wuthering Heights, and then we have Anne, who wrote, I want to say Tenant of Wilfell Hall, but I might be wrong. I'm probably wrong. And Agnes Grey. I am very excited to explore all of these sisters' works, especially Anne, because I haven't really read anything by Anne before, and I know that Charlotte and Emily are the more gothic sisters, whereas Anne is the more realistic sister when she does her writing. So excited nonetheless. But yes, Villette is the one that I would like to finish. May would be nice to finish it in May. But yes, so that is that one. All right, let's dive into my sci-fi and fantasy adult picks because I have a few. Always have a few. All right, we're gonna start with we'll start with the sci-fi this time. I am looking, as always, to continue my love of sci-fi that I have discovered this year with Chilling Effect by Valerie Valdez. I picked this one specifically because it just seems really funny and I would really like a lighthearted read right now. And I am always here for a book with cats on the cover because this one has cats on the cover. We love to see it. Look at the little kitty in the box. And the tagline on the front says, kidnappers, alien emperors, psychic cats, and she's out of coffee. So I am ready. This is about Captain Eva Innocente and the crew of La Sirena Negra, who cruise the universe delivering small cargo for even smaller profits. When her sister Mari is kidnapped by the Fridge, a shadowy syndicate that holds people hostage in cryostasis, Eva must undergo a series of unpleasant, dangerous missions to pay the ransom. Eva may lose her mind before she can even raise the money. The ship's hold is full of psychic cats. An amorous fish-faced emperor wants her dead after she rejects his advances, and her sweet engineer is giving her a pesky case of feelings. The worse things get, the more she lies, raising suspicions and testing her loyalty to her found family. To free her sister, Eva will risk everything. Woo! That sounds amazing. I am so into it. But yes, this is the main sci-fi pick that I want to read this spring. I also have 3 novellas because recently I've been getting into novellas. I've listened to a few on Scribd this past month. They are literally the bulk of my reading this month because they're so quick and short and amazing. So like the real sci-fi one is To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. This is one of her newest releases, I do believe. I am currently 19 pages into it, and I would like to keep reading this one because I read a Becky Chambers earlier this year and absolutely fell in love with the way that she writes books. So I'm excited. And we're going to continue going with this one. But this one is about in the future, instead Instead of terraforming planets to sustain human life, explorers of the galaxy transform themselves. At the turn of the 22nd century, scientists make a breakthrough in human spaceflight. Through a revolutionary method known as somaforming, astronauts can survive in hostile environments off Earth using synthetic biological supplementation. With the fragile body no longer a limiting factor, human beings are at last able to explore exoplanets long suspected to harbor life. Ariadne is one such explorer. On a mission to ecologically survey 4 habitable worlds 15 light years from Earth, she and her fellow crewmates sleep while in transit and wake up each time with different features. But as they shift through both form and time, life back on Earth has also changed. Faced with the possibility of returning to a planet that has forgotten those who have left, Ariadne begins to chronicle the wonders and dangers of her journey in the hope that someone back home is still listening. And my friends have read this, and my friend literally just finished it the other day, and she is begging me to read this so she can talk about it with me because she was so moved by this. So I am ready to be moved by that. The next one is The Black God's Drums by P. J. Clark. I listened to his work, one of his novellas, A Dead Djinn in Cairo, and it was so action-packed for such a tiny little thing. It's less than 100 pages and it was so good. So I picked this up right away. And I don't know if this is part of that same series. I haven't done my research as to how his series runs, because I do believe the detective that we have in A Dead Djinn in Cairo shows up in others, like they're a series of some kind. I haven't done my research, but this does not follow that person. This follows Creeper. A scrappy young teen is done with living on the streets of New Orleans. Her sights are set on securing passage aboard Captain Anne Marie's smuggler airship, Midnight Robber, earning the captain's trust using a secret about a kidnapped Haitian scientist and a mysterious weapon he calls the Black God's Drums. But Creeper keeps another secret close to her heart, the African Orisha of the wind and storms who speaks inside her head and grants her divine powers. And Oya has her own priorities. So I am here for it. I am so here for it. And then the third novella that I have is The Empress of Salt and Fortune by pronunciation of Ngugi Vo, we're gonna say. This is a novella that I've seen around the internet for a while. There's also a sequel or a companion that goes along with it about, the tiger. They don't have a list of things in here. But yes, so this is basically a fairy tale kind of a thing. So I believe it's a story told by the character Rabbit, I think. I'm not entirely sure, but I am excited about it. I've heard really good things, so excited to keep going with my novella train. All right, so the next ones, or the last two, I have two big bone titled fantasies. We have The Boneshard Daughter by Andrea Stewart, which is a adult high fantasy that I'm so excited to get to. The back says the Emperor's reign has lasted for decades, his mastery of bone shard magic powering the animal-like constructs that maintain law and order, but now his rule is failing and revolution is sweeping across the Empire's many islands. When the Emperor refuses to recognize his daughter as heir to the throne, she vows to prove her worth by mastering the forbidden art of bone shard magic. Yet, such magic carries a deadly cost. So I'm very excited to read The Boneshard Daughter. That one has been on my radar since it first came out, I believe a year or two ago, and I just picked up the paperback this year. The next one and the last one on my spring TBR is The Bone Maker by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a standalone fantasy which follows a band of heroes 25 years since their heroism got one of their party members killed. 25 years ago, this band risked their lives to defeat the Bone Maker, Eklor, a corrupt magician who created an inhuman army using animal bones, but victory came at a tragic price. Only 4 of the heroes survived. Since then, Kreia, the group's leader, has exiled herself to a remote tower and devoted herself to one purpose, resurrecting her dead husband. But such a task requires both a cache of human bones and a sacrifice. For each day he lives, she will live one less. Kreia would rather live 1 year with her husband than 100 without him, but using human bones for magic is illegal in Voss. So they go, I believe, 5 warriors, 1 broken, 1 gone soft, 1 pursuing a simple life, 1 struck in the past, and 1 who should be dead. Their stories should have been finished, but evil doesn't stop just because someone said the end, which is amazing. I am here for this. This This sounds like a D&D campaign with necromancy, and I'm so here for it. I'm so here for it, and I love Sarah Beth Durst's writing, especially her fantasy standalones. They're just great. So, all right, my friends, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I look forward to reading my spring TBR and telling you guys about it in my wrap-ups as we go through this. I guess it's not just my spring TBR, it's my spring and summer TBR, because this is gonna take me well into probably May, June, into July, around there. But I am excited, and I hope you guys are too. If you've read any of these on this list, please let me know down below what you think about them. Or let me know down below what is one of your top books that you want to read this spring, summer, as we get closer to the halfway point of 2021. I hope you guys are all doing really well, and I will catch you in another video soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.